But there are those that are inspired with the passion, that understand that there is an opportunity to bring others together and inspire them. It's an inner strength. It's hard to describe. Not everybody has that. Nor necessarily should you necessarily. I mean, I'm not saying that this is the be-all, end-all in service. I'm saying that when you look at how many Tech alumni, 250,000 alumni? Look, 250,000 really bright, smart people who are, in many cases, emotionally mature. You are going to find leaders, sources of an amazing institution like this, and the alumni community. I mean, you have this resource at your disposal. What you don't have yet is a developed alumni community that can put these programs together. That's the next step here. Does that answer your question? I mean, the sad thing is not everybody's prepared for this kind of service. They're just not. You know, not everybody has a desire to give, right? It needs to be developed in people. It needs to be developed by institutions that inspire us, by faculty that inspire us, by classmates and other people, by family members that inspire us. And you know, some people are givers and some people are not. That's the simple fact of life. I would like to think that our university audiences tend to be people who are ready and prepared to give more than the general population. Again, because of the special gifts you take away from an institution like this.
Actually, thank you very much for your talk. Very inspiring for all of us. When I was a medical student here at the Monterrey Tech, we made something like this in a town called Zaragoza, which is up in the mountains, and we were medical students, architecture students, agricultural students, and everybody was doing what they were studying. We were seeing children, seeing women. The architects were teaching people how to build safer homes.
What was the organization doing this?
Tech.
Tech was doing this?
Yeah.
Oh, the Alumni Association or the medical school?
No, I think it was medical school. It was around 1995.
Wow.
Very
nice.
But it was just once. To my knowledge, it was not just once. So I think it's a very good thing that you came and told us and showed us what you've done and what you can accomplish with a good organization of alumni. And relative to what he was saying of the mandatoriness of the social service. Actually, yesterday the social service spots were assigned by the health department, and I wish you could have been the day before to talk to the students. But yeah, actually, what I was going to what I would answer to him was exactly what you said. Not think it's obligatory. Don't think it's mandatory. Think of it as an opportunity to do something for the community. And it's mandatory. Okay, you can help it.
You know, I think that I'll just throw out an idea here. It might be to the advantage of the medical school students here to work within a larger group where they might be leaders in the community, not only providing health care, but approaching the community in its entirety with programs like this, where your students can not only be medical practitioners, they can also be volunteer leaders. That gives a lot of leadership training in ways that are profound, right? And might make it less of an obligation and more of a joy, right? When they have other people. It's hard to practice medicine by yourself or in a small clinic. It's just hard. It's hard work, but when you do it with many other people and see their passion, it's much more joyful.
Yeah, and actually, in the students coming back from the social service from that year, that mandatory year of social service, the ones that come with the biggest passion, with the biggest motivation, with the biggest joy, are those who went to very far communities with the most lack of resources and most needs. Yeah, I mean, a student that makes that year in the town, well, he was here 1 year and that's it. Maybe he helped others, maybe not.
Very nice, very nice. Well, it's great to know there's already precedents here at Monterrey. See, you did it first and you didn't even know it.
I'm sorry?
You did it, you had a service corps and you didn't even know it way back when, 1995 or whenever you went to do that service.
I think that if we start to working together, and maybe we accomplish many students, I'm a resident physician, and if I start to work with medical students, and the engineer students, and the nutrition students, and something like that, we are responsible for them.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we need a plan for working and look forward. We start in this point and we are looking for that point.
Yeah.
So in the part of, we need a plan, we need goals, we need keystones, we need everything like that. Do you have it?
Yes. There are legal issues. I have to tell you, when I told our president at Yale that I was taking 175 people into a poor village in Africa, it was not the best of reactions right away. Because, you know, Yale is a well-known school, and when you have a big bus that has Yale written on it, you've got 200 people and you're moving through. This is one reason actually why we did not go to Haiti. I visited Haiti, and there were bandits holding up buses, and we just decided we would be much too big a target. This is one of the reasons we don't come to Monterrey, right? We don't want to be a big target. You had a bunch of tourists that were attacked in the Holiday Inn downtown. This is about 4 years ago, right? So it's not that we're afraid to be here, but as a big group where you draw attention to yourselves, that's the difficult. So most of the legal, there are liability issues. We can help you through that. There are ways to assure that we're covered by insurance policies, and that can be purchased. In the area of medicine, you have to work with the local governments in terms of what it is the doctors are allowed to do. I don't know what, I forget now in Mexico whether doctors were allowed to prescribe drugs or hand out drugs. In China, we were very tightly controlled. The doctors were not allowed to see patients, but they could sit there with other doctors, the Chinese doctors, and help diagnose cases and screen and that kind of thing. So it was very restrictive there. In Africa, nobody cares. There's no medicals. I mean, it just, you know, I mean, so it's very different around the world. But there are legal frameworks, and we can help you and share our experience with you. Yes?
I saw in your video that there was a lot of people, of alumni, that were, I don't know, graduated in 65 or 70s or 50s even. So you have a lot of people that have been graduated for so many years. How do you invite them? How do you recruit them? Or what the strategy you use?
Well, we send out we broadcast an email message to all 150,000 alumni. So we have their email addresses. So we send out things to all of our alumni. But we have many other kinds of alumni activities. I mean, every year on we get close to 30,000 alumni coming back to campus for different kind of activities every year. And we advertise that. You know, we'll put up posters and we'll advertise in our alumni magazine. Frankly, when we advertise these programs, they fill up in about 2 weeks. And that's pretty impressive because, you know, people that go to Africa, you have to spend, the program costs $2,000. And then you have to spend $2,000 more on the airfare to and from the United States. So we have a lot of families that go. You have a family of 4 people, that's $16,000. That's not a small amount of money, right? Most of the times it's a parent and 1 child or something like that. But that's the way we advertise. Now there's its own network. So our Alumni Service Corps has its own board of directors, and their you know, it spreads virally now. Friends talk to friends. You know, somebody, I can say, oh my gosh, you got to go to this program. It's great, you know, and that's the way it spreads.
The idea is just perhaps to start with something smaller than this and start creating this type of culture. We are bringing that issue, the day of service, not because we think it's a nice thing to do, but because we think it is the right thing to do. We have to be committed in different arenas in order to give away or to return to our community something, a little bit of something of what we already got from our institution. And that's why we're going to try to put together some alternatives in order to solve this issue.
I will say this. I think that there's a reason that I'm here. It's because this is a receptive audience. I traveled to Germany. I talked to presidents of German universities. They said, our alumni aren't interested in doing this. And they're like, what? How can you not be? The Chinese alumni, they don't volunteer in their culture. It's not part of the culture, right? The Japanese, interested, but not committed, right? It's different. Carlos Cruz asked me, what have you noticed that's different about Monterrey? And there's a reason that Yale is here working strategically on a variety of programs, not just this one. It's because we think alike. I think that you are committed, I mean, because of what you do in the medical school here, you're committed, the Mexican culture, you know, I keep hearing that, oh, our alumni, it's not in our culture to give money to our university. That will change. If you want to be a great university, that has to change. And that's another subject altogether. But the fact is, this is a giving culture. There are people prepared to serve and to volunteer, right? Americans are known for this, right? I think Mexicans can be known for this too, right? I think it would be really, what a state, the British, alumni from Oxford and Cambridge are very interested. They come from this tradition of volunteering and serving others. I think you have that same culture here. It hasn't yet fully expressed itself in terms of your alumni associations. But I think there's a receptive audience here. I wouldn't be here if I didn't think that there wasn't something special about Monterrey and that people here, alumni are prepared. I mean, Javier, in the short time I've known him, he understands this. I mean, I'm amazed at what he does with his foundation and everything where he is steering the direction of this alumni association. This is very rare, folks, I have to tell you. Not many alumni associations have the kind of leadership that's represented up here. This I can tell you. In the past 3 years, I have visited more than 100 universities. More than 100 universities. This is rare. We found it at Oxford. We found it Singapore, I think, but not even so much. I think this is a unique community. You are prepared to do this. There's great opportunity here if you seize it. If you seize the opportunity.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for your time. And I want to give you an example of something that is already going on in here, about talking about Zaragoza and all that stuff. We got a program that it was built in Sistema Tech, and it involves Prepa Tech students and also, college students. And it's called Growing with Zaragoza. And as a matter of fact, it's something really close to what you chose at your video, but I think what it's missing is lack of organization. So
lack of what?
Organization.
Organization.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe in a couple of years we'll be back at Yale giving this conference.
I hope. Alumni associations are good at organizing things. That's the special gift, right? That's the ability to organize and get people involved where they would not otherwise be. It's hard to do this thing one-off. It's hard to do this by yourself, right? And while there are many social service organizations that do this, I mean, our doctors could go with Doctors Without Borders. What's it called? What is it again? Yeah. But we could do that. I mean, you could do that as a doctor if you wanted to. And that would be, that'd be a great, that's an incredible program. I stand in awe. But Monterrey Tech can do it too with other alumni in a very kind of special way, bringing together many very disciplined and very smart, bright, motivated people who aren't just doctors. You know, you're not necessarily the smartest people in the room. What's that? You doubt that. You doubt. There are other smart people too that aren't doctors that it's really cool to work together on these kind of projects.
Hey, well, first of all, yet again, thank you for being here with us and the great talk you've given us. But I have a question. First of all, I feel proud of our school for the fact that there's so many people willing to give both their time and their knowledge for others, right? But something I've noticed as I've leveled up in semesters is that sometimes people started with a lot of motivation, and by the end of projects, of course, at the beginning they feel joy because there's such a big joy in giving, right? But I feel as though sometimes there's a lack of, I don't know, for example, your video is a way of showing, of measuring the impact that your work had, right? But sometimes that is just a video, just giving out the joy, that's not enough. Sometimes people criticize, as you said, this kind of projects for lacking impact, lacking real social transcendence. And within our school, there are many projects that receive the same critic. I would like to know, like, if you've ever had that kind of problem and how, like, within your school, and how you solve it. Because I feel as if though that holds back some students at our school from participating in such kinds of projects. And I would like to know, how would you target students towards feeling the impact of their social service and showing it to others?
So, in the United States, with our nonprofit organizations, and even with our universities, we are very concerned about measuring impact. I don't have all the answers. There's a very good book, I don't know if it's been translated into Spanish, I think it must be. It's called Good to Great by Jim Collins, a professor at Stanford University. Do you know the book? And he has a monograph that goes with it, Good to Great in the Nonprofit Sector. It's a great book on leadership and organizations, business and nonprofit and government. I would highly recommend it. We use it in our leadership training courses at Yale, right? And we've invited the author to speak on many occasions. And here's the difficulty. In the for-profit world, it's pretty easy in businesses. It's pretty easy to measure success. How do you do it? Money. You either make it or you don't. Pretty simple success metric, right? In the nonprofit world, where you're serving stakeholders and not shareholders, it's a different world. Where you are changing lives, it is indeed difficult to measure. And I have to tell you, we are, and Jim Collins in his book would argue that in the nonprofit world, you have to select a large, what he'll call dashboard of success metrics. Because it's not as easy as we made money or not. Now, as a doctor, it's pretty easy sometimes. You either save a life or he dies, right? Now, you might have been able to save him, or he might have died anyway. I mean, there are all kinds of complicating issues there. So, to answer your question, we look at a number of success metrics in this, all right? We look at how many children we've taught, right? We look at how many volunteers attend, although those are inputs, not outputs, right? When you begin to look at success metrics very closely, you have to categorize between an input and an output. The number of people show up is an input. The output is what did they do, right? Money's given to a university is an input. What's the output? Brilliant students, accomplished alumni, new research, economy of ideas, all right? So we begin to look at what these success metrics are. Other success metrics. We look at the number of other NGOs that are involved, connecting the dots. Very important success metric for us. We look at how well the program is sustained. I was there last week. It had been a year since I had been there, and then a half year. There are still programs in effect. They're still meeting. Big success metric for us. It didn't end when we left and said goodbye on the plane, right? That's a success metric. In the cases where, so many of the Africans have a national health insurance program, but they don't sign up. They're suspicious of the government, and I mean, there's all kinds of things that impoverished people feel. But we're trying to sign them up. The number of people we sign up is a success metric. We have a team of alumni from our School of Public Health. We do health surveys in the community. We knock on the door, right, and find out, you know, maybe they have malaria. We found cases of leprosy is still common, leprosy, right? Dengue, fever. There are all kinds of infectious diseases, fungal diseases and everything else caused by poor sanitation and everything. And so we measure, so that's another success metric. We install water filters in houses, right? It's a big filter, and you dump the water in, which is not clean, right? And it goes through this carbon filter and organic compound and comes out the bottom. So the number of houses where we install that is a success metric, right? We are starting a business there. with a machine that makes sanitary napkins for women, right? It's a very simple machine, and you use wood pulp. We get wood from the sawmill, right? And you cook it up in a container and everything else, and it becomes the fiber, and you have the cloth, and it's a machine. I mean, but so the success metric here is that women who don't have access to sanitary napkins or tampons or anything like that, all of a sudden now do, which makes life a lot more comfortable for the women in this village, right? And we've also started a business. Because we didn't make them and sell them. We got some women together and said, you create a business. That's a success metric. So you see, it's kind of complicated, right? And we have to look at the large panoply of the kind of activities to measure success. And I got to tell you, there are some things that are very plain to see. I mean, when you go see these women making the center, that's a success story, right? And women are making money at it, and the women are more comfortable because, I mean, so that is a demonstration of success. But it's hard to do, it's hard to measure, right? And we have to be able to tell the story. The video is just fluff, right? You can make anything look good with a video, right? The real action happens basically, what happens when you come back the following year? Can you measure the impact? Does that answer your question? Yeah. Kind of a long answer. But it's very hard to do. I wonder, for example, someone who was sitting here asked, who had the burnout question? Did he leave? Oh, you're back here. So your students here, let me give you a practical solution here, an answer. Your students sometimes feel that this is obligatory service. They have to do this volunteer service. Again, that's an oxymoron. I don't know what the Spanish word is for oxymoron. But if it's mandatory volunteer, there's nothing such as mandatory volunteer service, right? It's called slavery in other areas, right? You have to work for no pay. What? Yes, it's called volunteering. No, it's not, right? If you have to do it, you're not volunteering. But that's beside the point. This is part of your curriculum. It's an obligation to do this. Part of the burnout is because the students don't see that they're having any effect. Maybe Tec de Monterrey has to be much more sophisticated in how it measures success, what we call in the US success metrics. What is the success metrics for your students? Sounds to me, if there's burnout, there's not a very good way to tell them the impact they are having on those communities. Or the institutions make this, oh, you're doctors, of course you're having an impact. Don't assume anything. Right? That's why we do success metrics. So people don't get burned out. And so that we can demonstrate that the impact they're having is meaningful. Because I'll tell you, if our volunteers, having paid $2,000 to be a part of this, aren't convinced that it's meaningful, they're never coming back. So I have a responsibility to demonstrate success. Your medical school has a responsibility to demonstrate to the students who go out there and spend a year in service that they're having impact. They have to be able to measure what it is when they've been successful. There's a whole, by the way, we have a leadership forum, that I really haven't talked to you about. We have a 2-day leadership forum where we go through all of these leadership traits and qualities of a nonprofit organization. Success metrics. How do you communicate effectively? How do you do strategic planning that vests ownership of the mission with the people that would go on these trips? The management of nonprofit associations, believe it or not, is a science. It just doesn't happen, right? You have to be very sophisticated about how you motivate, inspire, and get people engaged. Another topic, interestingly enough. Good questions. Great questions. See, that's why I know that there's huge potential here. I understand from your questions that you understand what's going on here. The ingredient here now is just convincing yourselves as an alumni association that there is power in the community and that you can do this. Any others? Any other questions? I'm standing between you and dinner, I guess. Huh?
Well, let's give a big applause to Mark.
Thank you.